Hey residents of Meepletown, today we are taking on the role of students in an Academy of the Dark Arts, and we are trying to complete our master's thesis. We are trying to complete as many projects as we can so that we can not only graduate, but also potentially be the valedictorian and the winner of the game. Let's get to the table and check out Studies in Sorcery. Okay, so here is the setup for the game. We are looking at a lot of different cards on the board. If you look up here, you're going to see the project cards for the different levels. It's 1, 2, and 3. But for the ones that we can purchase right now, we've got 2 columns of level 1s and 1 of level 2s. This is the time tracker for the game to show that we're going to play through 4 weeks, and that will be a month. And then we'll play through 4 months total. And I'll just go ahead and show you, so the card on your turn. Now this might be different a little bit from the final rules, but overall you get the general idea of how this is going to work. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to be taking one of these actions on your turn. This is going to be the first player over here. And on your action, you can either dig, buy, or cram, or do one of your project actions. But right now we don't have any project actions because we don't have any completed projects available to us. And I'll go through what all of these different actions do. So if you're going to look, you're going to see each of us started off with one level 1 project. And I'll just show you kind of the breakdown on here. For those level 1 projects, this is going to be the cost up here. These are these have a cost down here that you have to purchase whenever you're buying them from this area out on the board. This is the cost of the materials that you have to spend in order to be able to activate to finish this card, and then you'll have special abilities over on this side over here, and then down here shows you how many victory points that you're going to get. Now, there's lots of different actions that they can do, and I'll explain those as we move along. I'm going to push these up here a little bit. But to start off, again, we can cram, which is to put materials underneath these to commit cards to those projects, but we don't have any cards yet. So we're going to dig. And let me also mention, each one of us started off with a master's thesis. And so player 2 is going to want to be able to complete 4 of the sorcery projects. Those symbols are at the top of the cards. And then player 1 is going to has the State of the Dark Arts thesis, and they're going to want to complete 4 projects from the tier 2, and they don't have any right now. We also each start off with $5 from our research grant cards. Now, I think we're all set up and ready to go. You notice, again, we have the payment on here, so we have to have the materials to be able to finish up these projects. Now, player 1 has one of theirs as a candle, and the only way you can get candles or the vials are from these 2 stacks right here, so you actually have to purchase those for $2 a piece. So what I could do is go ahead and start working on my thesis by picking up a couple level 2 cards, and then from there, be able to buy those. And so I think, right off the bat, I'm just going to buy. I've got a research grant that's going to give me $5 right off the bat. As you're getting cards from the graveyard, you're also going to be getting funds. But to kick off, you have a research grant that gives you $5. All right, so now I have $5 to work with. And again, I need a candle. And so I'll pick up a candle. That's going to be $2. And then I'll also again, want to get a level 2. Now, right now, the only level 2 that I can get is the Alchemic Alacrity. And so I'm just going to take this one right here. The other one I could purchase, but it costs 4, and I just don't have enough money for that right now. So now I've got 2 projects that I can work on, and I have a candle to be able to do that. All right, now after you've taken your action, the other player is also going to take their action, and then you're going to commit cards and complete any projects, and we'll get to that in just a second. So player 2 has the Unearth card, and this is going to help with their project. It's a sorcery card. Sorry, I didn't replace this. We'll put that out there. And that's not level 2, and I'll explain how all that works at the end of the month too, and how you're refilling those. But basically, it shows you on here on that semester card. So they want to complete more sorcery projects. They do have one right now, and they think, okay, actually, I would like to go ahead and dig instead of purchasing. So dig is how you're going to get materials to be able to put onto your project. So the first thing you're going to do if you're going to dig, you're going to take the cards from the first stack, and I'll just throw these up here to show you what those are. We've got a rib cage and a skull. So the skull has a skull and a bone. The rib cage is a rib cage and a bone. And now what I can do is I can keep those. So I'm going to look at my project and see I need 2 bones and a snake. So I probably do want those cards so I can commit them and work on finishing. But if I didn't want to keep these cards, what I would do is I put them back there, and I would add a card from the top of this deck onto here. So now when you dig for that first stack next time, you're going to have 3 cards available. So you're actually, if you're passing those up, you are potentially helping the other players be able to have more options whenever they take the dig action. But what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to keep these because, again, I need those dem bones, dem dry bones. I need those bones to be able to complete this unearthed one. So I will do that, and then when you take from that stack, you're actually just going to take 1 card. Each of these stacks has 2 in there to start off, but when you take from a stack, you're only going to add 1 back on there, making that a little less lucrative. It's probably going to get passed over for the next time. All right, now that we've done this, we're going to look back over here on our handy dandy player guide card, and that's going to show us that now we can commit up to 2 cards. Now you also have symbology on these the month cards on there that are really helpful. So you know that I can now commit 2 cards to the project, and then if you have any projects that you've completed, you complete those and then flip those over, and if they give you any immediate actions, you go ahead and take those. So right now we'll commit 2. Player 1 can commit 1 because they do have a candle, and now all they need is the limb, that little hand symbol on there, and they'll be able to complete this one. They also they could have committed to either of these or commit 2 to both of those, but you can only commit 2 cards in this phase. And if you have symbols that, let's say I had a little worm symbol on here. I always call it a snake, but I think it's actually a worm. So if you have a worm symbol on one of these cards, it would actually count towards the bones and the worm. But in this case, I just have 2 bones, so I'm not going to complete that project yet. That is going to be the end of the first week. These turns go really quickly. Now the first player token is going to stay over here. I didn't mention this. These are not final components. This is a prototype, but Carla from Weird Giraffe is fantastic and always sends really cool things along with it. So we got a little Lego skeleton as our first player marker. So that's actually going to stay right there. And now the first player, we're going to move this over to the second week, and then we're going to take our next set of actions. So let's see. First player, they need limbs here, worms, and they don't have any money, so they're for sure going to dig. Again, we look at the first stack. We're going to look at this. Now this card is just so you see this second player would not be able to see this. Excuse me, but this is a mushroom. I don't need any mushrooms actually at all. And so, whoops, not going to put that face up. I'll put that back face down. I'm going to pass over that pile and add a card there, making that a little more attractive. And then look at here. So for the second one, I went ahead and flipped those over, and now I've got a mandrake and a mushroom. Again, I don't need any mushrooms at all. Even if they're mandrakes, I don't need that. So I'm going to take this, pass that one up, and I'll go to pile number 3. Now, if I don't like these, I still have options available, but actually I really do like these. A little bit. I don't love them, but they're not terrible. So this one I've got a, whoops, there we go. I do have a Nightcrawler, and then I have an urn, and the urn is going to be worth $3. Now I didn't mention that these also, I may have mentioned this, but these also have dual purpose. If you get these, they also have a cost associated or money associated with them that you can use for money when you're purchasing cards up in this area up here. So this is a little tricky because I guess I do need a Nightcrawler, so this is helpful. And I can use the urn as money later on. So I do think I'm going to keep these. I still don't have a lot of great cards, but that's better than nothing. I'm going to take 1 card, flip that over, back over to player 2. Player 2 really needs a worm to be able to complete this project. And I do have some money. $5, but I do think I'm going to go ahead and dig in on this turn as well. So right off the bat, we've got the Nightcrawler and a mushroom that they have to be able to choose from. They do need the Nightcrawler, but they don't need the mushroom, and they know there's 3 cards in that second pile, and so they're really tempted to go ahead and go for that one. Even though the worm is the thing that they need, they're getting a little chancy here. So they're going to pass up on stack number 1, go to stack number 2, and stack number 2 is going to have not exactly what they need here. In fact, it's not at all. There's no worm in there at all. There's just 2 mushrooms, and it's not very much money either. 2 cards that are worth $1, and I didn't throw those up there. I'll just show those real fast. 2 cards that are worth $1 and 1 that's worth $2. Still not great, and so they're really regretting their choice of not taking that stack number 1. Now they're going to go to stack number 3, and it's just a mushroom valued at $1. Also not worth it. So this was a bit of a bust. They really should have stuck with that first pile. It wasn't terrible, but they just got a little greedy, and it did not pay off. So what they have an option to do now is to take one of these cards over here, either take the vial or the candles, or they can draw one randomly from the top of the card, top of the deck here. Now here's the thing, they don't need a vial or candles. However, they're looking up here on the board and thinking they really need to be able to complete sorceries. This is a sorcery one that uses a vial, and it's only going to cost them a vial and a snake. So I think, or a worm every time. So I think what they are going to do is going to take the vial, even though that's not what they need right now. They're hoping that will pay off for them in the future. So that's going to go into their hand of cards. Now, again, as we talked about earlier, after you've taken, each player's taken an action, then you're going to commit 2 cards. And player 1 does have a snake, a snake every time. It is not a snake, it looks nothing like a snake, but they're going to take a worm, commit that, and that's all they can commit right now because the only other card that they have is an urn. That doesn't do them any good up here. Then if they're able to complete the project, then they would complete that. Player 2, again, you know that they don't have the cards that they need because they made a boneheaded mistake. Now we're going to go on to the second week. I'm sorry, the third week. We're going to pass through the second week. Excuse me. And then we're going to do the same thing. So still first player over here. And let's see what we need to do. We do need to do some digging again. And again, you can dig, you can buy if you have the money to be able to buy. You can commit 2 cards, cram, which is allowing you to potentially commit 4 cards total for that round, which is really big. But right now we just don't have enough cards. And then the last thing you can do is take an action on your card if you do have an action available. So I think they're just going to dig again, which we've got some pretty big stacks out there. And so this is actually a really good time to dig. So, ooh, this is not great, but it will be good for player number 2. This is the player number 2 was going to dig anyway because they really needed to go back and get those worms. But what they have here are 2 worms and a mushroom, but that does player 1 no good, and so they're actually going to pass up on that and then put another card. So now there's 4 cards in that stack, and that's going to be too sweet to pass up for player number 2. But player number 1 still going. They really need to be able to have a, let's see, what do we need? We need a limb that will be able to complete this card. And there is a limb in this one, so let me just throw those over there. Hopefully you can see those pretty well. A limb, and then we'll have a little extra money after that. So I'm going to keep these ones. Yeah, we'll keep these. Way worth it. Throw a card out there to replace it. Now back over to player 2. Player 2 for sure needs to dig because they want to be able to complete this project. So they are going to look at these, and it will be exactly what they want to take because they want to go ahead and get that worm now. So it did kind of pay off for them to wait, although they could have completed that last time and been able to move on to something else. Yes, so they'll keep these, refill, and the other benefit for player 2 is now they're going to have a lot of money to work with. Now we're going to commit 2 cards apiece. Player 1 is going to be able to commit the limb as their first card. They'll commit that to that spectral sight. And then finally, they don't have anything else that they can commit right now. So they're just going to commit that 1 card. In doing so, though, they will be able to discard these cards. This is the discard over here. This card will go back up here, and then they're going to flip this card over. It's now going to be worth 2 points when they flip it over. Let me show you what happens when you flip it over. So it's going to show you the points that you have here at the end of the game, and also the type of card that it is. And also, this is the special action that they can now take. So instead of taking one of those 3 actions that we've taken so far, they'll also be able to take this action that allows them to look through all grave piles and take any 3 cards and deal 1 to each pile. That can be really, really big as this discard pile starts to fill up. That will be really valuable for player 1. So that was a good one to get right off the bat for them. So they completed that card, and player 2 also would like to be able to complete theirs. They're going to need a worm to complete this one, so they will put that on there. And that will complete that project. So these will, again, all be discarded. If you had any of these 2 cards up here, they would be put in their stacks. And now they also have an extra action. Their extra action is that they can draw 6 cards. I'll flip this over because it's completed now. So now they'll be able to draw 6 cards, keep 4, and then add the remaining 2 to any pile. So any of these grave piles out here. Also, a very great way to get cards, especially right off the bat. You know, this is the first cards that they're getting. They're going to be able to get extra cards. They're really kind of building this engine up to be able to collect more items. Now they did that. We go to the final week and start the whole thing over again. We're going to be able to take an action. Now again, we do have these extra actions that they can take now. So player 1 is still up. Now player 1 has some money to work with right now, but they've also got some mushrooms, and they're looking over here and thinking, here's a level 2 card, and that's what they need to do, is complete 4 level 2 tier 2 projects. And this one takes 2 mushrooms. They actually have 2 mushrooms in their hand, so I think they are going to take the buy action. Unfortunately, they're only going to be able to buy 1 card if they get rid of their mushrooms. They could buy 2. Now in this one, if you commit more than 1 card to this in a single turn, you're going to add a negative token. So I didn't show these. You do have these other tokens, these negative and positive tokens that will come out, and those are going to add points to the cards. In this case, if you add more than 1 card, you're going to have to add a negative token on there. So I do think that they will buy, and they're going to spend, they're going to spend a lot of money, I think. So they'll spend a total of $6, including a mushroom that they don't really want to get rid of. I'll throw these over here. They don't really want to get rid of that mushroom because they need it. However, being able to get cards right now is going to be very important. So those are going to go down there to the discard pile. They have, 6 to work with. So they'll buy 4. This level 4 card here that they're going to work on. Now they've got 2 cards that they're working on, and they also need 2 vials. If they could afford 2, they would get them, but as it is, they cannot. So they're just going to buy 1 vial, and that's going to go into their hands. That was their buy action. We'll take this card and replace it up there, and now back over to player 2. And this will be the last turn of player 2. This hopefully gave you a good idea. Now they also have a lot of money to work with, and they don't have any projects, so they don't really have any choice right now. They need to complete 4 sorcery projects as their thesis, and so that's what they're going to be looking for. Sorcery cards. There's not many of them out there. There's only 1, which is a pretty good one. This is the ghostly, what is this called? The ghostly grifter. And then this one is only worth 1 point when it's completed, but when the player to your right completes a buy action, you can take 1 card that player discarded, which is pretty good. So they're going to buy that one. That's only going to cost 2. Let's see. They don't really have other ones that they want out there, so they're just going to kind of look for ones that might be fairly easy for them to complete, including that crawling claw, because they have... Yeah, that's what they're going to do. So they're going to, let's see, that's going to be 2. They're going to buy this one. That's going to be a total of 3 cost. Let's see. And then we're going to need to buy a candle and a vial, I believe, or at least a candle. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to spend our research grant. That's $5, and then have these projects to be able to work on. I'm just going to kind of throw them in here. You might not even be able to see that. Yeah, I'll throw this up here. It's not the best way to set up, but I just want to be as clear as I can on the camera. So they went ahead and bought those, and they're going to be working on those. And again, they could have taken the action here, but they really needed to get some new projects. These are going to be replaced. Throw this out here. And then, again, we'll commit cards. So let's see. Player 1 is going to commit a mushroom for sure because they can only commit one card in a single turn. Otherwise, they're going to put a negative point on here. And they don't want to do that. So that's committing one card. This is going to commit the second card for this. Now they only need one more to be able to complete this one. But they can't complete anything right now. So that will be their entire turn. And then player 2 will also be able to commit a couple cards. And they actually, right off the bat, can complete one of those that they had going. And so what they'll do is, which one do they want? They actually really want to complete this one, the Ghostly Grifter, which again allows the player to your right to when the player to your right completes a buy, you can take a card that they discard. So they're going to take those, discard these to their respective spots, and flip this over, and now they have this ability, and they're working on this one, which they should be able to complete pretty soon. Now what's going to happen is we have finished up that month, and so this counter is going to go over to the second month. We're going to discard these cards out of the game. We're going to shift these down, and now all of these, we're going to shift all these down. And now for this month, we're going to have a column of level 1 projects, a column of level 2, tier 2 projects, and then another column of tier 2 projects. And then you can see how each month is going to be a little bit different for the semester. So they're going to get to the tier 3 cards in the next coming months. But that kind of gives you an idea of how things play out. You're also going to take a card to add to these different graveyards, and all of that's kind of laid out. Let's see. Let me go ahead and show you this on here. Once you advance the moon on there, you're going to move the moon token to the next phase. Advance the term token, which we did, past the first player, which I did not do. Sorry. After that moon, then we're going to reset the moon token. We're going to put this back over at the very beginning, and then again we added one card to each pile. So that shows all that you do. You're going to keep playing through, again, 4 rounds of that, and that is the gist of how studies in sorcery plays out. Now let's talk about the art and components. Now again, this is a prototype copy of the game, so these are not final components. But I'll give you an idea of what I know. So the little piece for the markers on the cards are going to be different. These are little skull erasers in the prototype copy, which are kind of cool. But those should be chipboard or little wooden tokens that will fit those cards really well. The first player marker will not be this little skeleton guy here. But that will more than likely be a custom meeple. But the art that you're looking at, from my understanding, is going to be pretty much what you're going to get from the game. And I can see people liking this, and I can see people not liking it. I will say this, that I think the graphic design is well done, that you can see things very clearly. When you flip the cards over, they overlay each other, and so you take up less table space by doing that. Because at that point, you only need to see the left side of the card. So I like that. I like how everything's very clear, and honestly, I kind of like the art. I dig it. It's very simplistic, but it kind of has that that vibe that it should have for this type of game. So I enjoy the art. There's not much to the components. I'm not sure if these is going to be final quality cards. I think these are fine quality cards, but I'm not sure if that's actually going to be the final product. So essentially what you're looking at is a box of cards with a few extra components in there. All right, that was the art and components. Now let's talk about the gameplay. Now I'll go ahead and say this, as I say in all of our Kickstarter preview videos, that this is not we don't do our ratings in these videos. We just want to kind of give an idea of how the game plays, and then give some of our initial thoughts, but we save our reviews for the final production of the game. So there's some things to like about this game, a lot of things to like about this game. This is it is a kind of a simple set collection game at its heart, and how you do that, I think, is pretty interesting. So one thing, for example, is when you're digging for those cards, there is a push your luck element in that, where you take the cards, you look at them, and you decide, do I want to keep these, or do I want to go and look behind door number 2? And I think that's really interesting. And you're also kind of setting yourself up for future plays as well. You might dig right now and pass up some cards that you might really want, but you might want to try to set yourself up a little bit later. But if you do that, you're also giving your opponents opportunities to also dig for those same cards. So I think that's a very interesting mechanism of just, what is essentially just trying to get cards to be able to play them, to be able to finish those different projects. But I think it's a really interesting and very unique way of getting those cards. I like the engine building that takes place from those projects. So you're completing projects that will also give you special abilities, potentially give you actions. They might give you an immediate boost. There's lots of different things that they can give you. Ultimately you're trying to get the points at the end of the game. But if you can figure out an engine with those cards that you're getting, you're going to be better off. And I think that's really interesting, especially because this is at its core, it's a really simple game. You're digging for cards, you're putting them on those projects and completing the projects and getting points. Very simple, but the way that plays out, I think, is really interesting. Another thing I really enjoy, but it can also be it can be kind of frustrating at times, but is committing those cards. So you're only committing 2 cards to projects each round. And if you have been collecting a lot of different materials to be able to put towards those projects, and if you've purchased a lot of projects, you might want to be able to commit more. And that's why taking that cram action can be very important, especially towards the end of the game when you're really trying to complete those projects. Kind of feels very thematic, like I was in college trying to finish these projects at the last minute. And it does have that feel to it. You want to try to cram all those materials onto that project. And I think that's just a really interesting mechanism. And again, it feels thematic in that nature. So if this seems like something that would interest you, I definitely encourage you to check out the Kickstarter project. If you really like kind of lighter card games, especially if you like set collection, if you like some push your luck, if you like a little engine building, this game definitely has that. And if the theme draws you in, this might be something that you're very interested in. So anyway, those are kind of some of my thoughts, again, without doing a review for a preview video. So definitely check this out if this seems like it's something that interests you. But if you'd like to get in touch with us, if you'd like to find out more about what we're doing at Meepletown, you can check us out at meepletowngames.com. You can go to Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. That's at Meepletown Games. You can also go to Board Game Geek Guild number 3407 and touch base with us there. If you have any questions, you can also just email us at meepletownmail@gmail.com. But until next time, thanks for coming down to Meepletown.
Thanks for joining us, and be sure to follow us on Twitter at Meepletown Games, and connect with us on the Meepletown Guild, Guild number 3407, at BoardGameGeek.com, and also subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel. And until next time, thanks for coming down to Meepletown.